Whoa. All right, so Dan Ige versus Lerone Murphy. I'm not just saying this because Dan Ige was my favorite to win the fight, but Dan Ige surely got robbed, in my opinion. Lerone took round 2. Dan Ige took round 1. But that third round was mainly a jiu-jitsu fight between those guys, like a grappler's match. Not a lot of people were really throwing a whole lot, and it was Lerone who initiated the takedown first, where Dan Ige stuffed a lot of those and then ended up in very highly favorable, grappling positions with a lot of control time. Lerone had some control time on top, and then, he had that flurry at the end, and so did Dan, but Dan also got a really good knee in there, and obviously there's arguments and room for doubt that Lerone Murphy could have won that fight, but if you listen to the crowd and the booing that they did, I'm not the only person who thinks that Dan Ige got robbed. Not by a long shot. So what's next for Dan Ige? I don't really know. Now what's next for Lerone? Maybe Bryce Mitchell versus Lerone Murphy. Bryce hasn't fought in a year, basically. Not since December. Against Josh Emmett. And he needs a bounce back. He's been inactive, recovering for a while. And obviously, the high echelons of featherweight aren't in the cards for Bryce Mitchell. But I don't want to see his last fight in the UFC be against Josh Emmett. Just got to say that. I just don't like that, I don't like to see his final hurrah, where it's like, even if he doesn't beat Lerone Murphy, I still think he would have a favorable matchup on the ground, because Lerone does like to initiate takedowns, and it's not like Bryce can't strike at all. His striking's just not up to UFC standards. He's better off going to the ground and using his jiu-jitsu, but if that goes to the ground, I do see Bryce taking that away from Lerone Murphy and being the one to take away his O, because it should have been taken away today. I don't think they did Lerone Murphy any favors with this fight, to be honest. I got to take a hard line on this one and say, the judges definitely got this one wrong. And, that's okay. And I'm not celebrating, a Lerone Murphy defeat. I think the guy definitely did really well against Edson Barboza. However, I'd rather have him take an acceptable loss and build off of that and really bounce back than, have him go in against someone better, and then really get caught. Especially when you're in the same division as Josh Emmett. Yeah, Josh lost to Topuria, but he still KOs people who aren't on the Topuria standard. So, we'll see. I think Lerone Murphy, if he's smart about his health, would really want to go against Bryce Mitchell at this point. Winnable for both guys. If Lerone keeps it to the standing, that's where he's got a shot. But if Bryce Mitchell really wants to take him to the ground and get him to the ground and use his jiu-jitsu to control it most of the time, that's where Bryce can get his hand raised and get a bounce back victory and at least have some stake in the UFC, because I know he's about farming and scripture and all that stuff now. Nothing wrong with that. I don't hate him for that. However, if you go Lerone Murphy versus Josh Emmett's going to get another cold-blooded KO highlight reel. And I honestly feel like I'd be putting a hard stand on thinking that, because everybody who doesn't meet the Topuria standard, who goes against Emmett, always ends up having their feet crossed and looking at the ceiling like they had a near-death experience. But that's what I got to say. I hope Lerone Murphy versus Bryce Mitchell happens. But yeah, no, I think that if Emmett really wanted to get another win right now, he would sign on a Lerone Murphy thing, because I felt like Dan Ige won that straight up. And yeah, we all have seen this story before. Very close fight that was technically a robbery in a lot of people's eyes. And then they go up and, something happens. And yeah, I don't want to sound like the guy that's wishing very bad on Lerone. I really don't wish something like that on him. But 145 gets more dangerous as you go up. And yeah, we should that was completely just for me. Wow. But peace.